Hey, Todd Jarrett here for JP Enterprise. If you are a PCC lover like I am, if you're not familiar with how blowback guns actually work and versus a delayed action, let's go back to the bullet cave and talk about the things that can be a problem with your blowback. Hey, Todd Jarrett here. We are back at the bullet cave. Hey, today we're talking PCCs and we're talking JP rifles. And if you're a PCC lover like I am, I got a PCC gun a couple years ago. We started playing around with them in USPSA. And then I decided to want to use one for 3-gun practice instead of shooting 5.56 because of the expense. It actually has more recoil than a 5.56, so but I can get the same weight out of a GMR 15 as my standard 223 JP that I currently shoot. So let's talk about some of the dangers of loading when it comes to blowback guns that we have been seeing all over the ranges out there. I've been seeing friends of mine, I've been talking to people in the industry who've been having problems. So the difference between a blowback gun and a delayed action, so the carrier on your right will be the JP blowback carrier system, and the one on the right is the typical 5.56. So the difference between blowback is essentially the gun is unlocking as the bullet is going down the barrel at a certain distance depending on the actual power factor. So if you're new to the game about power factor, basically it's bullet weight times velocity, and you're looking for something around 125 to 128 power factor. And when you get under that, you can get in some dangers about sticking bullets in the barrel, which we want to talk about. So the difference between blowback is the gun actually starts unlocking before the bullet actually exits the barrel with certain barrels and certain velocities. When it comes to a delayed action, what happens is, like on the 5.56, for a split second, a millisecond, the bolt is actually locked into the barrel, and it unlocks, and it takes a millisecond, but just long enough to get that bullet out of the barrel and getting down range to the target. Now, when it comes to loading, my personal load is I'm loading tight group powder with Precision Delta bullet 124. I kind of like that setup for me personally. This is on the 5.5 inch barrel from JP. And JP and I were talking about it, and I was going like, JP, I really like to have a shorter barrel because of weight-wise for some of the base stages for USPSA. And we got to chatting and everything, and I said, well, he goes, oh, Todd, you can shoot this thing out to 75, 100 yards away with a 5.5 inch barrel. Well, I kind of disputed that with my buddy JP, so until I got a hold of one, and I went out and shot it. So this particular gun right here with my load, with new brass in it, and I'm running about 128 power factor out of it. And at 75 yards, I'm shooting about 3 inches, and I'm about 4 inches at 100. With my GMR 13.5 inch barrel with a fixed comp on top of it. Particularly, I like to use this out for my practicing for 3-gun out to 200, 250 yards away. So it kind of gives me the feel of my AR, and it's got the same balance and same weight on it. So on the 5-inch gun, the gun actually comes with a 5-inch barrel, but with a fixed tube, which makes it perfectly legal for 16-inch, and you don't have to have an SBR license for that. So when it comes to delayed action, what happens is, hence the word blowback. So what happens is when the gun fires and goes off, whether if you're running a more than a 5.5 inch barrel, which you can still stick a bullet in a barrel with a 5.5, as the bullet passes down, typically around 10 to 12 inches, if you are running a really light load, let's say a 147 grain bullet. Some guys are running 150s in these things now. You want the heavier bullets for them, like the Federal Syntex bullets. The 150s, they do feel really well and bounce in the gun, and they shoot extremely well. But if you download them too much, you can stick a bullet in the barrel. As that bullet gets stuck in there halfway down the barrel, it will kick out the cartridge, pick up the next round, and you fire the gun, and it'll stick the next one right behind it. And you'll never know it. So very similar to 300 Blackout. If you're running a 220 grain bullet, you got to be careful of that too, especially when you're running subsonic. You can stick a bullet in the barrel very quickly. So it's very similar to the 9mm guns, and that's a delayed action gun. So what happens is you stick the bullets in the barrel. As you stick them up, and it kicks out the empty case and picks up another one, and you'll never know it until you actually have a stoppage, and you go like, what is going on here? And then you stick a rod in here to stick a rod in there, and you can have a full barrel full of bullets. So the key thing is that we want to look at here, if we look at a case that was fired out of my PCC gun and one that was fired from a little hotter load on it, you'll see that there's a black mark on there. So that black mark is telling you that gas is coming around the actual case itself and unlocking before all the powder is burned out. And as it unlocks, the bullet is already down the barrel. So it's something you want to be aware of. So if you're loading, don't be afraid to run a couple more tenths of powder to get that bullet out of there, because you can stick one in the barrel. Now you got the loss of a barrel, you lost your gun. Of course, you got a major match coming up the following weekend. And you're going like, oh, I'm screwed. What am I going to do? And I'm sure JP will help you out. But in the meantime, you need to know and understand how to be able to load correctly on it. Now, a couple things we want to look at here. So particularly, I like to be able to make sure I clean my trigger group out of my gun. I'm running a hyperfire trigger, and I'm swapping triggers all the time, depending on what I like from week to week, and I'm always playing with them. But I like to be able to take that action out, completely clean it, put it all back together, and usually about 2,000 rounds, 2,500 rounds, I want to do that. So when it comes to cleaning your gun, I want to make sure that the bolt system on it. So on the JP Chrome here, so this is a nitrite version of it right here. But with this chrome right here, it is really difficult to be able to get all the carbon off, because these are dirty guns, hence the word blow back. They blow back everything in your carrier upper group and into your trigger system there. But a couple of things that I like to I like to be able to show you is Hoppy's makes what they call a number 3. It's a precision oil. They make it in a spray, and they make it also in a liquid form. This stuff is like a miracle drug for me for putting on my gun. So I'll spray it on my, once I clean my gun, spray it on my carrier, spray it on everything, spray my upper receiver with it. I'll blow it up in there, and it actually comes off almost like glass is what it does. So a couple things I'm always looking to have in my bag for PCC. I always like to have a bore snake from Hoppy's, and check out and try the precision oil. Hey, I hope you learned something here. Most of all, be safe, be happy, and I'll see you soon on the range.